So apparently, at the end of the world, the apocalypse, the end times, according to the book of Revelation, 2 secret prophets are going to show up for 3.5 years, and everyone is going to hate them. But if anyone tries to do anything to them, to try and shut them up, these prophets are going to be able to stop the rain, turn water into blood, and spit fire that consumes their enemies. And in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly who they are. Hi, my name's Corey, and this is RedeemerOnline.church, and it's my mission to help you understand and practice the Christian faith, especially if you don't go to church right now. And we've been walking through the book of Revelation here on the channel because, well, when the world gets chaotic, plenty of Christians go to this book looking for apocalyptic answers to their chaos-induced questions. So we're trying to understand what it meant to its original readers so that we can, in turn, figure out what it might mean, if anything, for you and me. And in this video, we're talking about a portion of the apocalyptic vision that details 2 agents of the apocalypse with secret identities and special powers from Revelation 10 and 11. Okay, I'll just reveal it to you right now. Are you ready? It's you. And it's me. Let me explain. In chapter 10 in the book of Revelation, John, the author, sees this vision of a powerful angel descending onto earth. He was robed in a cloud with a rainbow above his head. His face was like the sun, and his legs were like fiery pillars. He was holding a little scroll which lay open in his hand. He planted his right foot on the sea and his left foot on the land, and he gave a loud shout like the roar of a lion. The detailed description of this angel matters. Each detail has been repurposed from elsewhere as a description of the presence of God and or Jesus. God was pictured as a cloud and fiery pillar leading the Israelites through the desert. The rainbow above his head was just like the rainbow above the throne of God earlier in the vision. Face shining like the sun, feet planted over the land and the sea, the voice like the roar of a lion. I mean, they're part of an earlier description of Jesus from this same vision. But here's the point of all of it. This angel is in some way carrying the very presence and authority of God himself. Then the angel I had seen standing on the sea and on the land raised his right hand to heaven, and he swore by him who lives forever and ever, who created the heavens and the earth and all that is in them, the earth and all that is in it, and the sea and all that is in it, and said, there will be no more delay. But in the days when the 7th angel is about to sound his trumpet, the mystery of God will be accomplished, just as he announced to his servants, the prophets. Then the voice that I heard from heaven spoke to me once more. Go, take the scroll that lies open in the hand of the angel who is standing on the sea and on the land. So I went to the angel and asked him to give me the little scroll. He said to me, take it and eat it. It will turn your stomach sour, but in your mouth it will be as sweet as honey. I took the little scroll from the angel's hand and ate it. It tasted as sweet as honey in my mouth, but when I had eaten it, my stomach turned sour. The image of eating the scroll that tastes sweet but then turns sour in the stomach is actually a borrowed image from the story of a prophet in John's own religious tradition named Ezekiel. It's designed to communicate that what he's about to ingest, the message that he has to digest and then disseminate, is going to be a bittersweet one. It'll be a hopeful and yet painful message. I was given a reed like a measuring rod and was told, go and measure the temple of God and the altar with its worshipers, but exclude the outer court. Do not measure it because it has been given to the nations. This is where things are going to start to get a little confusing. John's not literally going to measure the temple of God. I mean, by the time he's writing this, the physical temple in Jerusalem has actually been completely destroyed. But it was commonplace for the communities of Jesus followers, for Christians, to refer to themselves collectively as the temple of God. So part of this bittersweet message that John is about to communicate is for the church, not church as in a building, but for the collective communities of Jesus followers. They will trample on the holy city for 42 months, and I will appoint my 2 witnesses, and they will prophesy for 1,260 days clothed in sackcloth. Okay, why 1,260 days? Why 42 months? Well, that's 3.5 years, which is numerically important because it's half of 7 years. 7 is the number of completeness. It's John's apocalyptic way of saying that these 2 witnesses are going to be prophesying in sackcloth while the world tries to trample on the honor of God. But that's only going to be half the story. However, if anyone tries to harm them, fire comes from their mouths and devours their enemy. This is how anyone who wants to harm them must die. They have power to shut up the heavens so that it will not rain during the time they are prophesying. And they have power to turn the waters into blood and strike the earth with every kind of plague as often as they want. So who are these two prophet witnesses? Again, the details matter. They're all reused from two Old Testament characters in particular, Elijah and Moses. Fire consuming enemies and skies withholding rain, those are images straight out of the prophet Elijah's own resistance of the reigning king and queen of his day. And turning water into blood and striking the earth with every kind of plague, that's straight from the book of Exodus and Moses' own resistance of the empire of Egypt. Now, when they have finished their testimony, the beast that comes up from the abyss will attack them and overpower and kill them. All right, we haven't gotten to the beast from the abyss yet. That's a bit of a foreshadow, but we will. Their bodies will lie in the public square of the great city, which is figuratively called Sodom and Egypt, where also their Lord was crucified. For 3.5 days, some from every people, tribe, language, and nation will gaze on their bodies and refuse them burial. The inhabitants of the earth will gloat over them and will celebrate by sending each other gifts because these two prophets had tormented those who live on the earth. There's something about the testimony of these two prophets that the world is going to find so tormenting. So the world's going to celebrate and leave the bodies unburied when they die, when the beast from the abyss finally martyrs them. But only for 3.5 days, which is half of 7, which again is a hint that this story isn't complete. It's not over. But after the 3.5 days, the breath of life from God entered them, and they stood on their feet, and terror struck those who saw them. And then they heard a loud voice from heaven saying to them, "Come up here." And they went up to heaven in a cloud, while their enemies looked on. At that very hour there was a severe earthquake, and 1/10 of the city collapsed. 7,000 people were killed in the earthquake, and the survivors were terrified and gave glory to the God of heaven. Here's the bittersweet message to the original readers, the ones who were currently experiencing persecution from the reigning empire, Rome. The church, the community of Jesus followers, you are going to be my witnesses when everything comes crashing down. Like Moses and Elijah, you're going to have to stand up against the empire that will seek to destroy you. You're going to have to testify to what you've experienced as a result of following Jesus. And the empire is going to hate that. Eventually, it's going to rise up and martyr you for it. But that won't be the end of the story. You'll be raised to life again, and most of the world will recognize your vindication. It's a bittersweet message because it required the readers to walk faithfully into death. But it's hopeful because it promises that as a result of their witness, most of the world will turn back to God. Elijah lamented in his own day, in his own stand against the empire, that only 7,000 people stood with him. But in this great reversal, due to the Elijah-like witness of the church, only 7,000 people will end up dying. Now look, there's a ton of symbolic language here, but it's all communicating the same thing. God's mysterious mission to set all things right, to make all things new, to bring heaven and earth back together, is one that he's choosing to accomplish through that creation itself, through humanity, who will, like the Jesus they follow, inspire many to turn to God when their death and resurrections are witnessed. Okay, but what does any of this have to do with you and me? Well, I think if you count yourself as a follower of Jesus, I think you too can see yourself as a part of that witnessing duo, speaking truth to empire, urging people to follow the way of God, even if it might cost you. I mean, in what ways might you speak the truth of God to the empire of your world? If you look at the life of Jesus, how might his teaching and practice garner you ridicule? What would it cost you to consume, digest, and disseminate the way of Jesus today? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you want to talk more specifically about how any of this would apply to your personal life, if you want some help on your faith and spiritual journey, throw a wave emoji in the comments and we can set up a time to chat. I'd love to help you gain some clarity and direction in that area. That's it for this one. Hit subscribe if you like this video, and next time, we'll cover that beast from the abyss.